It's like old home week today on Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is here. Mary Jo Foley is not. We're going to have a lot of fun talking man stuff, mostly about Windows, a little bit about Windows Phone. You stay here, won't you? Windows Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 255, recorded April 5th, 2012. I miss Narnia. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Go to My PC. Take care of last-minute requests from anywhere, right from your phone, with the Go to My PC app for iPhone. Visit gotomypc.com for your free 30-day trial. Use the offer code WINDOWS. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to Squarespace.com. Use the offer code WINDOWS4. And by Audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, visit audible.com/windows. It's time for Windows Weekly and a look at all the latest from the beautiful city of Redmond, Washington. Normally we have Mary Jo Foley and Paul Thurrott, but today Mary Jo is on assignment. That's what they say.
I think you should put me on two screens today.
Yeah, you should have a double screen Paul Thurrott.
Yeah.
Paul Thurrott
I'll just debate myself.
No, Paul, you ignorant fool. Paul Thurrott from the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com, and analyst for Penton Media, and author of Windows Phone Secrets, working on Windows 8 secrets. Are there secrets in Windows 8?
Oh, yeah, there sure are, including, why doesn't this work?
When the Windows secrets started, or secrets, way back when,
yes.
Wasn't it a website? I seem to remember it was a website. Was it Brian Livingston who started it?
I would imagine it was probably his column in InfoWorld.
Maybe that's what it was, yeah. And he would reveal, I mean, there really were secrets. There were like...
back then there weren't a lot of places to get that information.
Right.
You know? I remember getting the, I want to say it was the Windows for Workgroups resource kit.
Yeah.
It came shrink-wrapped. It was about an inch thick. It was kind of a big 8.5 by 11 thing. And it was crazy what it had, but there was a screwdriver included in it that I still have somewhere here.
A physical screwdriver.
Yeah, a physical screwdriver. Just as, I don't know. And there was like a rundown of every kind of command you could have in all those ini files, which to me was just the most amazing resource ever. So they had like WinIni and SysIni, and there were all these possibilities, and they documented every single one of them. And I just remember thinking like this was black magic, you know? And now we have the internet, so that stuff is useless.
Now we have the internet. And nothing stays secret for very long. And that's really the truth.
Yeah. So we've had to change the format of the book. So we used to call out secrets in the book.
Right.
And the way it works now is...
No one knows this.
Yeah, it's sort of... Well, in the case of Windows 8, there's a lot of new stuff. So I think anything that's new to you is a secret to you. But it's more along the lines of kind of like what's new. You know, in other words, here's something you wouldn't know normally. Not so much like a surprise.
But you do have the wonderful Gabe Rivera. I'm sorry. Gabe Rivera's tech meme. That's another person.
I wish I had Gabe Rivera.
Raphael Rivera. Wow.
Yeah,
you like to give Raphael a hard time. But Raphael Rivera is a very smart kid who is very good at kind of digging deep inside stuff and finding secrets. If there are secrets, Raphael will find them.
He just spelunked one yesterday.
Did he?
Actually, that's on his blog today.
Oh, that's neat.
It's kind of I don't know what you call it. We call it a power user menu, but there's with the WinX menu, you might call it, that kind of menu that comes up where the start button used to be.
Yeah.
And people want to add stuff to it. So there have been some hacks to make that happen. You can edit a DLL file, which is kind of a really low-level thing to do. But he figured out a simpler way to do that. So we were playing around with that last night, and this seems to work pretty well. It's nice.
So there are secrets. There are things you can do.
There's always secrets.
There's always something. Steven Sinofsky is going to reveal all. No more secrets from the man in charge of Windows 8. He's writing a book.
Well, actually, this book's been out for a little while.
So there you go.
And actually, to be fair to Mr. Sinofsky, I would say every year publicly, he writes the equivalent of a very long book through all of his blog posts.
Yeah, each blog post, thousands of words.
This book, One Strategy, actually, if you scroll down, tell me if it says when it was published. It must have come out about a year ago or more.
2009, November 23rd, 2009.
So this book is interesting. And this is going to blow
it's like
people away.
It's like a business strategy book.
Yeah, so it's awful. I mean, but it's so no, but this is crazy. So we know that this man writes incredibly long blog posts publicly. Right. Now on the Building Windows 8 blog. Back in those days, there was an equivalent Windows 7 blog where he just really just documents and over documents and writes. What we don't know is that he does that kind of thing internally as well. So Microsoft has
that's what this
SharePoint server inside. It's only available to Microsoft employees.
The words
and every day this
Stephen.
guy writes a blog post that's many times.
All right, let me just give you an idea. Here's what is in this book, according to Amazon.
Yeah.
Hard-won insights, experiences, and lessons on, 1, aligning a highly complex organization during uncertain times. 2, developing a framework for strategic integrity by planning, organization, and decision-making.
By the way, I've made strategic integrity the center of my life. We'll get to
it's
that.
in our mission statement.
Yeah, it should.
3,
it is our mission statement.
It's translating strategic potential into impact. This is
it's ridiculous. All right, so but here's the point. Here's what you need to know. The book is actually 2 different things. That stuff that you just read about is written by the other guy. My understanding is that Steven Sinofsky.
He's working with Marco Insanti.
Yeah, he's like
he's the David Sarnoff Professor of Business Administration at Harvard Business School.
Right, and if his title doesn't put you to sleep, his book will. But I guess they met. Steven Sinofsky took some time off.
This is his blog posts mixed with that.
But his internal blog posts. This is why it's interesting. So, in the after Windows 7 shipped, I guess they published this book. And what this guy did, the other guy, was he took Steven Sinofsky's internal blog posts and then he put commentary around them. So the Steven Sinofsky stuff is just as he wrote it. It's not even really edited in any meaningful way. In fact, that's kind of a problem in some places. But the stuff that the other guy wrote, I couldn't care less about. I just skip over it. I want to go read about Windows and Windows Live and all the stuff that matters. And I'm telling you, if you like Windows and you were looking for some sort of a more modern look at what goes on inside of Microsoft and everything, those posts are they're very interesting. It's worth reading just for that stuff. I mean, the book is a little expensive, unfortunately. Even on the Kindle, I think it was about $25 or $26. But there's some interesting stuff in there, and I've only just begun it. But I'll give you two of the ones that jump out at me because they're sort of pet peeves of mine in a way. So, for example, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. Every time Steven Sinofsky writes a blog post, he talks about engineering. Or every time he stands up in front of a crowd, he talks about engineering. It's always engineering. He's very engineering focused, like almost too much, like he's trying to either prove himself or prove that the organization he works for is, an engineering enterprise of some kind, And it turns out in the book, this is revealed to be a reaction to Google. That as Google was coming up in the world, say 5 years ago, a lot of people thought that they were this unstoppable, almost scientific force, that Google was going to win through engineering. That everything Google does is like mathematical, It just creates stuff and then it runs in the background, And this is Microsoft's attempt, or Steven Sinofsky's attempt to say, hey, we are an engineering company as well. And he argues in some internal blog post early on, before I think even right at the run-up to Windows 7, before they started, that Microsoft needs to go back to its roots as an engineering company. And God, he's been pushing that publicly ever since. I mean, he talks about engineering all the time. In fact, I believe the Windows 7 blog was called something like Engineering Windows, or it had that kind of a name. Very interesting. So that was one. The other thing he talked about was Windows Vista, and this is one of those topics we go back to again and again. Vista is a version of Windows that is generally very derided publicly. People always kind of laugh at it and go back to it, and but what if Windows 8 is another Vista? Yeah, what if Windows 8 is another Vista? They'll only sell several 100 million copies of it. The thing that I've said all along, and it's very interesting to see it repeated in some of Sinofsky's writings, is this thing sold really well. And was an important thing that Microsoft had to do. The odd thing about it is, and he mentions this, I think in the context of an internal discussion at Microsoft, Steve Ballmer, the CEO of Microsoft, as Vista was finally coming to market, which was after Sinofsky took over the Windows team and was now working on that next Windows version, publicly said that they would never allow another Vista to happen. But that was misquoted by people as, in other words, saying, we're not going to make this mistake again. We're not going to do this kind of a big bet again. We're not going to make this thing, this kind of thing. That's not what he was saying. What he was really saying was, we're not going to let 5 years go by without a new version of Windows. And one of the things that Steven Sinofsky has been very adamant about, it seems, is keeping Windows on a very regular, predictable cycle. So Windows 7 happened in 3 years. Windows 8 will happen in 3 years. It's something he was able to do with Office and now is doing with Windows, making it not unpredictable like it was with Vista, but predictable. It wasn't so much like reversing, like we're going to fix all the wrongs of Vista. I mean, from their perspective, it was like, we've got a lot of stuff right here. And it was an important foundation that made Windows 7 possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm just, during Microsoft's antitrust days, there were a lot of books written about Microsoft. So that was kind of a fertile time period for that.
Them, yeah.
As Google came up in the world, there were a bunch of Google books.
Lots of Google books, yeah.
A bunch of Apple books, obviously with Steve Jobs and their incredible resurgence at Apple. A lot of books about that. But, in recent years, there really haven't been many or any decent books written about Microsoft this past decade, this past several years. And this doesn't completely fulfill that. But it's in the same way that, say, the Steve Jobs biography was very interesting for details about Apple and Steve Jobs in the last couple of years. This book is interesting because it gives us some details about Microsoft in a very recent time period internally, which I'd have to say I've not really seen a lot of elsewhere. So we know about Microsoft, XP and beyond, going back in time. More recently, haven't been as many books, and so it's just kind of interesting historically for that reason. The economic stuff and how you can build a team and blah, 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 whatever. It's not clear to me that anyone can learn any business lessons from this. And maybe you can. I don't really care, but I'm not going to read that stuff. But I'm really interested about the background Microsoft stuff.
Yeah. No, no, you're not alone. We've talked about Showstopper before, and
yeah,
I've always found that stuff fascinating.
How nice would it be to have a Showstopper type book?
Yeah, for 7, for Vista,
every 5 years
or
whatever.
8, yeah,
right. I love stuff like that, and it just doesn't happen. Those kind of things, unfortunately, not so much once in a lifetime, but they're rare. They don't happen that much.
Yeah. That's the show. For people who don't know Showstopper, it's still in print. It's we've talked about it before. G. Pascal Zachary's book about the development of, was it NT 3.5 or 3?
Well, the first version of NT. 3.1 was the first.
3.1. Okay.
The development of NT.
Right. Mm-hmm. Fascinating book.
Yep.
It's no one strategy, but it's a good book.
No, it's not.
No, what is?
I don't like those kind of books. There was a. Let's see if I can get this right. It was a book about the ThinkPad. That was written like this, where there's this kind of every chapter has a chapter, about some time period or product or whatever it was. Remember they made that butterfly keyboard or whatever. And then at the end, these economists that wrote the book or whatever, or educators or whoever they were, wrote this sort of, it was almost like a term paper about the event after the fact. And it's like, oh, guys, just tell the story. I mean, like, this other stuff is it's just filler,
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, it's... I guess in the long run, what happens is you can piece the whole story together from a variety of sources, and this might be one source. I mean, at least we're seeing the internal blog posts, which we wouldn't have seen otherwise, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm sure all kinds of things were redacted. It would have been hilarious if they did like a government document with like the actual blackouts. But
I'm sure all the good stuff is taken out.
It's still, it's very interesting. I mean, I find that stuff to be very interesting.
Me too. Maybe this a little less than most, but I'm gonna pick it up today. Windows. Actually, before we get to Windows 8, I want to take a little break. We were talking with Paul Thurrott. Mary Jo is, I think, traveling. I
think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
She'll be back next week. Meanwhile, the show, as always, brought to you by our great friends at Go to My PC. The folks at Citrix do such good software, and Go to My PC is amazing. Now, this is a tough crowd for something like Go to My PC because, of course, Windows has built-in remote access, and I'm sure many of you use it. And you might be saying, well, why do I need to go to my PC? It'd be interesting to know if you read, for instance, Showstopper, you'll see the name Ed Yacobucci throughout. Ed worked at IBM at the time, but was lent to Redmond to work on the NT kernel. And it was there that he really got some expertise in NT and, in fact, went off to start Citrix. Citrix became known quite well for their remote access. And if you use RDP, you're using Citrix code. And Citrix, of course, is used in enterprise, the full bore Citrix, all the time for remote access. It's a better, secure remote access. Has a lot of advantages over something like RDP. First of all, you don't have to open ports. It uses something called NAT traversal to get to where it's going, which is great. You just log on to the GoToMyPC server with your secure credentials, and you're connected to your office computer. It's also really fast. They have a lot of proprietary technology for, only sending Delta changes and things like that. So it's very, very snappy. 128-bit SSL from everywhere, so you don't have to worry about using it at a coffee shop. In fact, I know a lot of people use it as a VPN. You log in with GoToMyPC to your office computer, and then you surf. Even if you're at an insecure access point, your surfing's completely secure right to your office. You could try it free for 30 days by visiting GoToMyPC.com. Notice, though, it doesn't just work with a PC. It works with Macs. It works with iPads. It works with iPhone, and that's the weirdest way to use it, but it's incredible to have your office computer in your pocket on your iPhone. Anything you could do at work, you could do on your iPhone. I mean, send, receive email, run any program, access any network resource, update spreadsheets, edit PowerPoints, work on a file right on your iPhone. It's kind of weird. I want you to try it right now. Go to mypc.com. Click the Try It Free button. You don't need help from the IT department. You can do it for 30 days. The iPad and iPhone apps are absolutely free. And so is this trial for the first 30 days. Go to mypc.com. Click the Try It Free button. Use the offer code. I didn't mention this. I would appreciate it if you would. Use the offer code WINDOWS so that Paul gets credit. Offer code WINDOWS at gotomypc.com. Windows 8, Paul Thurrott. Any more news? We're getting, people are using it. I have to say the reaction seems to be, even from people who are kind of cynical about Windows, that it's good.
Imagine that.
There's a certain amount of surprise to the whole thing.
I think that, so I think the problem with Windows 8 is that it's not, a lot of the new stuff is not inherently discoverable, right? It's not clear that you can go to the corners and make things happen.
Right.
It's not clear that, and so I'm curious to see how in the final version Microsoft will educate people about those things. Okay,
yeah, I had to get you. I had Paul Thurrott helping me.
Yeah,
and that made it.
And I'm available to anyone.
Thank you. Call him up. So. He will tell you about all these cool things that are just. You're right. They're kind of hidden things that are make it a huge difference.
So people like me are going to be busy for months to come.
Yes, well, that's good news.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think there's some weirdness around the dual UIs, of course, right? We've got Metro, we've got desktop. They don't really interact in any meaningful way other than, certain things pop up over the desktop that are Metro-based, like notifications and the Edge UIs and so forth. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I mean, I think the basic way to put it is we have this new computing environment that's coming that, Apple was on the forefront of with the iPad, and Microsoft's response wasn't to copy them for a change. And frankly, I think after Zune and all the other failed attempts at copying other people, Microsoft should be applauded for doing something different like they did with Windows Phone. And, we'll see how it does in the market, but it is at least a different approach. And I think it's one that will have some value to people, i.e. that notion that you could have one device that does everything, that when you take it out with you in your bag and you're on a plane or you're out commuting or whatever, it's a tablet. You touch it. And it's got a nice UI for that kind of stuff. It's like a consumption device. But you can plug it into a dock, keyboard, mouse, big screen, and it's a productivity machine. It's a PC. It has all the expandability and all this stuff, that the iPad doesn't have. So, there's some advantage to that. I'm not claiming this is a clear win. It's an alternative. And I think the future of computing is going to be much bigger than was the PC market and much more diverse. And, hopefully Windows will be part of that. But this is their approach. So this is what we have to deal with. I mean, this is what we're working with. So there are some changes coming. I think a lot of people expected, because of the way things had gone in the past, that the beta version, or what they're calling the consumer preview, would have been feature complete, but it's not. And hopefully the release candidate will be, that it will be a true release candidate, something that could be considered for the final version, but at least be feature complete. So there's some changes that are coming. I'm aware of some of them. I know that there are new icons and cursors and all the little on-screen controls, scroll bars, and all that stuff. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I had a horrible cold this week.
Sorry about that.
Once my throat gets itchy, it's hard to.
I know you can't stop. Have a nice sip of beer.
Yes.
There you go. Oh, vodka. That's good.
It just coats the throat. But there's a Chinese website. I think it's Win8 China, or something of that, something along those lines, that has been very good about leaking stuff. And they have a shot of the Explorer version that's going to be in the RC. It's not dramatically different, but it is flatter and more Metro-like. I apologize. Hold on one second.
While Paul's coughing his lungs out, we'll take this time to observe that the new Lumia 900 is out, and we will have a review. Our Windows Phone expert, Alex Gumpel, will be reviewing it this evening on Before You Buy. He actually, I got the phone. AT&T sent it to us and said, you can't talk about it till Tuesday night. But we got the phone a few days early, and I was playing with it, and I loved it, but I thought, I can't do this. I have to let Alex play with his phone. Because he's the one person in the building who actually uses a Windows phone, like, as his main phone. And he says, I wish I weren't stuck on Verizon, because I love this phone. Paul, we need some. You need some salmon with honey. No, I'm sorry, bourbon. I misread it.
Salmon with honey. I'm listening. It's a little fishy.
How are you better? Are you feeling better?
I guess I don't know what's going on. So,
all right.
Anyway,
we got a man down in Dedham.
I'm feeling better today too, but
it's like Call of Duty Zombies. He's like on his back, going, "Help me, help me!" Quick, somebody run over. Rejuvenate him.
I'm not dead yet.
Help me.
Okay. But anyway, there have been a lot of calls in the enthusiast community for Microsoft to completely overhaul Explorer and give desktop users, throw them a bone, do something nice for them. They're not going to do that. And the reason is simple. If you're going to have Windows 8 and Windows 7 together in an enterprise, they can't be completely different. I'm sorry. I can't shake this thing.
Do you want me to do it? I'll do a commercial while you go stand on your head in the corner. What is it that people do when they
I'll be right
have
back.
A coughing fit? Take your time. Paul Thurrott's going to leave us now. Finally, my own show! I've been waiting for years for this. Actually, let's talk about Squarespace.com. The secret behind exceptional websites. The new Squarespace is looking so sweet. And they've lowered the cost of Squarespace.com. I want you to take a look. This is the site we use for our Inside TWiT blog, mainly because we send people there all the time and we don't want it to go down. And I'll tell you what, you cannot bring down a Squarespace site. This Squarespace is, let me explain what it is. It's hosting plus content management software all rolled into one. And one of the reasons it's nice to have the two combined is because they're tightly integrated. So it's not like you're laying WordPress on top of some lamp stack. This is that, and that's one of the reasons you can't bring a Squarespace site down. They're using a virtual server technology that is so sophisticated. And they've got this great user interface for creating and managing websites or blogs. What's nice is it's optimized both for beginners and experts. If you're a CSS expert, you'll love the new CSS editor for developers. You pop out the window and full screen. You colorize code, undo, find, and replace. I mean, it's a full IDE for CSS. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. You don't need to know it because they've also got literally hundreds of design templates to choose from. You can customize any of the designs with point and click. You don't need to know any code. They've got 13 new template redesigns now. Just came out. 85 new style options. 2 brand new templates. They've added the Google font library. 300 fonts, fully integrated. iPhone, iPad, and Android apps. These are beautiful. I got to show you these. That really make it easy, not merely to post content, but also to moderate blog comments, to look at stats. It's just fantastic. This is the platform, and if you're using another program, I'm not going to name names, but security becomes a big concern. The nice thing about having Squarespace host your site is they keep the software secure and up to date automatically. It's a managed server; you never have to worry about security. Plus, great resources and a support team to give you help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Have I showed you the workshops? Go to workshops.squarespace.com. They have live workshops, webinars that you can go to in every area of Squarespace development. Getting started, beyond the blog, search engine optimization, custom domain mapping. Their members and audiences feature, which is an interesting feature that allows you to create individual accounts for various members of your site. So it's a great way to have kind of a paid section. 30-minute seminars coming up. You register for that, you go, and you learn. And it's all free. These guys are committed to making your site a success. They've got a blog module, which includes import and export for WordPress, Blogger, Movable Type, and TypePad. They've got a form builder so you can collect email addresses and other information from site visitors. Widgets for Flickr, for Twitter, for Facebook, Google Maps, and a whole lot more. It is amazing. Now, here's the deal. There's no special URL or anything. Just go to squarespace.com. This is one of the most generous offers anybody offers. You just go there, click the Try It Free button. You fill out first name, last name, email, give your site a name and a password. You can uncheck Stay in Touch. You won't get any email from them, and create your site. Now, for 2 weeks, you've got full access to everything Squarespace offers. Everything Squarespace offers is there. If you decide you like it, go back to squarespace.com. And you'll see we've got new pricing, and I just want to point this out. If you've looked at it before, they've completely simplified it. $8 or $16 a month. There you go. Boom. I think they might have some other plans. But $8 a month, this is the new $8 a month if you build annually. That's a great deal because you get all the core features. You could have a 20-page site, 500 gigabytes a month of bandwidth, 2 gigabytes of storage. And this isn't, some cheapo hosting company. This is the best. I got a better deal for you. If you decide to buy, use our offer code, and you get 10% off the first month. That's 10% on monthly plans. If you get an annual plan, it's 10% off that. That's a good deal. Squarespace.com, the offer code if you decide to buy is Windows 4, WINDOWS, and the number 4. I love Squarespace. I know you will too. And every time I do this ad, I feel bad for Paul Thurrott because he's stuck with a CMS that's not somewhat
Every time
less.
I do this ad, I think about the choices I've made in life. How they've gone awry.
Your site though is pretty robust, right? It doesn't go down much, does it?
That's hilarious.
Oh, it's okay. Never mind. Sorry, I brought it up.
That's right.
You feeling better?
I don't know.
Did you get some honey and salmon?
No, we don't have any salmon.
I'm sorry, bourbon. I have some bourbon here for you if you'd like. I think you warm it up, you put a little honey and lemon in there, and it coats the throat, and you're so drunk you don't really care.
Yeah, I need that.
Explorer is getting an all-new UI.
Isn't
getting an all-new. I just wanted to tease people. No, I like we're talking about the tile thing, right? Or is that what we're talking about?
No, we're talking about the old one, the desktop
file
UI,
File Explorer.
Windows Explorer. Yeah.
Okay. So there is, if you're using Windows 8, there is a button that says Windows Explorer. It opens the desktop and gives you exactly what you would get in Windows 7. It's got libraries. It's got folders. I mean, I think in some ways that reassures people. Tell me that they're not going to...
no, they're just going to flatten it out a little bit.
They're going to Metroize it.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to even explain. If you expand the ribbon there and you look at, where you have tabs and so forth.
Yeah.
No, down a little bit. Just click.
Expand the ribbon. Oh,
There you go.
yeah.
They're just going to flatten it out a little bit.
Flatten the ribbon.
Right now, it's just sort of, it's not 3D, but, there's a little bit of a sense of depth there. In fact, if you...
As the world goes 3D, Microsoft's going flat. It's interesting. Right. But
give them credit again, doing a different direction.
You got to think, though, that there's a ton of thought that goes into something like this, right? That they have, like... No, I'm giving them a lot of credit here.
I'm sorry. What you
Don't laugh.
Ludicrous. One would think that...
No, they have a guy in there who is like some sort of
It's like a part-time contractor.
He's a savant, and he's like a gypsy. He feels as the new I agree
that he's like a gypsy. In fact, I think what they're going to discover after Windows 8 ships is did that guy even work here?
No, I'm trying to give him credit so that he says purple, it's the new black, or no, 2D is the new 3D. Make it so.
Let me look. I don't follow the movie industry or whatever, but if I'm not mistaken, a silent movie was just the most lauded movie of the year.
That baffled me. Not only a silent movie, it was 4:3 aspect ratio,
and French,
and in French, and it won Best Picture and Best Actor.
I think we've just described the three strikes that we all assume are against it, and yet. There it is.
Well, it's really funny. If you made that pitch, you went to Hollywood and you say, I want to do a movie, I'm French, but to avoid the language problems, there will be no dialogue.
The star of the movie previously starred in James Bond spoofs in French. What do you think?
He's the guy who's in your favorite...
OSS 117. So this is when the Mr. Burns hole in the floor opens up and the guy falls through the floor.
Feed them to the dogs, Smithers. Yeah. A silent movie.
Yep.
In black and white, 4:3, not 16:9. There's all, I went to a theater. The theaters now all have wide screens. It's an amazing thing. And there's black bars on both sides because they're not using the whole screen. It's a very strange experience to see that movie. I finally saw it, and I was kind of baffled, to be honest. I love him. Yeah. He's great.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And he's great in OSS 117. Anyway, how did we get there? Oh, 2D.
I don't know.
So maybe Microsoft is right. Maybe this is it. This is the future.
This is the crazy or crazy like a fox.
Exactly.
No, I mean, I think they can't go too nuts with Explorer because, for the same old reasons as before. But, some updates. This is nice for me because I've only taken 500 screenshots for the book, so I can just retake them all later. That'll be fun.
Oh, God, that's right. They do that to you to drive you crazy.
I already talked to the publishing company about this, that everything we've done is just like a placeholder. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Paul doesn't mind. Screenshots are easy.
I expect this.
You're going to have more. Although, didn't they say this wasn't going to happen? Kind of?
Yeah. Well, obviously, in a book like the one we're working on, most of it is the Metro stuff.
Right, right. So that's all right.
But, that's changing, too. I mean, a lot of the apps that are in Windows 8 right now are app previews. They're not complete. Some of them that's terrible. I mean, I've been sort of going through them one a day on my website. I wrote about the music app today. I mean, this thing is did you give this to the sick child down there in the corner right now? I mean, it's the most awful...
Oh, dear.
You have these guys who did Zune, you had these guys who did Windows Media Center and Windows Media Player, and you apparently decided to ignore all of them and make this piece of crap.
And Metro is very good. I mean, Metro is very good.
I think the way to put it would be Metro can be very good. But, I'm sorry, now that I'm off on this tangent, the music app, aside from being navigationally retarded, has 3 sections right in the beginning, which I can't get to now because it's broken. So I actually have to crash the app to see what I'm talking about. But there's a marketplace, like a spotlight section, right? This is the first thing you see when you go in the app. So they're already involved in commerce the second you get into this thing. All I want to do is listen to some my own music, and I have to scroll by commerce. And then there's the section that has your music. And then you scroll by that, and there's another section for marketplace that's just the general marketplace interface. So the way they've decided to make the UI is to sandwich your content in between this junk that they're trying to sell you, and you see it all, it's all in the same interface. It's just awful. It's reprehensible. It's really bad. So, yeah, Metro can be good, but Metro can also be used for evil, and I think music is a good example. The music app is a good example of that. I feel like I've lost you.
I'm sorry. I just passed out. I just passed out for a moment. I was trying that bourbon and honey thing, and it works. So we got the. Can I move to the topic that I really want to talk about?
Yes, please.
This is a great phone. Can I say that?
You can say that.
How do you feel? Have you been? You've been using it probably for a couple of weeks.
I do not
right?
have one.
What?
So I foolishly decided to go through Microsoft to get this one, and now the Microsoft phones are going to be late.
We got it from AT&T.
And the reviewer, most of the reviewers probably got them from Nokia directly. That was an avenue that was actually open to me. So no, I still don't have one, but it's okay. I mean, I'm getting one. It's okay. It's fine. I just
you know how it is. You know it's going to be good.
I mean, I think the important bit for me is just that I've been using a large screen Windows Phone device, since
Titan?
October. No, I've been using the Samsung Focus S.
Yes. I have. That's the one I have. I love that.
Yeah. Love it.
This is even bigger, though.
Yeah, and it's got a nicer body. I think it's, you've got the color choices and all that kind of stuff.
There's something about this. Now, this is the cyan. They also have a black and the white one's coming.
And there'll be a white one coming up.
But there's something about this. It just feels really good in the hand.
The thing that I would want to test the most on that is I will compare it to the iPhone 4S from a photo-taking capability. I suspect it's not quite as good. I mean, the iPhone 4S is a high watermark for that kind of thing.
It's pretty tough to
beat. But I bet it's pretty good.
I'm looking at these pictures, and I would say in terms of the richness of the color, it's perhaps even better. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Go back to the picture of Alex. This photo is titled, "This is the last thing you'll ever see." It's like, is there somebody there?
I don't know why he did that. Actually, it's just his head floating in darkness.
I swear to God, if I saw that in the darkness,
it's scary.
I would pee myself.
Yeah, that's probably his new avatar. Why'd you do that, Alex? Yeah, he's saying something.
He's saying something.
I think this is. Say again.
It's not creepy. No,
he was testing. This is the front-facing camera. Okay. Now, you were doing it in an unlit space, though, I should point out. I think that, this is a pretty good close-up. I think the detail is excellent.
But you have to test it next to an iPhone.
You have to put a same picture on. Yeah, exactly.
You want to take a bunch of the same photos, zoom in and out and do all that stuff.
I would say, though, and I think one thing you can say is Nokia is famous for its cameras. It is a Zeiss lens. Yep. It's 2.2. So it's f2.2, which means very low light. That's comparable to the iPhone. I'm looking at the color rendition. It looks good. I think the clarity may be slightly lower than the iPhone, but I will do a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. But not that that's how people decide, but I think that's going to be one of a couple of key areas where that would make a difference. I mean, I think the big story that I've seen in the review so far that it actually sort of bothers me is about the apps. Microsoft hit 80,000 apps for Windows Phone this week.
That's kind of surprising. That's amazing, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the one obvious complaint that people can still say. There are hundreds of thousands of apps for the iPhone.
It's not
many
numbers
apps
to
for
me.
Android.
I mean, I'm sympathetic with this argument that that the apps are what is going to keep me from using it, but it's not. Yeah. It's not so much for me that it has fewer apps in toto. Who cares? That's a dumb number. Does it have the apps? Does it have the apps you want?
Right,
does it have Angry Birds? Does it have Evernote? Does it have Netflix? Yeah. Is there a good third party, say, calendar or where you get on the iPhone some advantages is there's so many apps that you have a number of choices for third-party versions of the browser and things like that.
You do, but but there's a confusion to that. It's like saying, it's not always better to have 117 different Italian dressing choices in a supermarket. I mean, sometimes it's not clear. Not that means that the lower number of choices in the Windows Phone Marketplace guarantees quality. Far from it.
No, in fact, there's some crappy apps, but
of course there are. Of course,
but that's true everywhere. I mean, there are fewer fart apps, I admit.
But I know I have different needs, I think, than some people when it comes to apps. But it's a little. It bothers me a bit when I read a review where someone will say something like, "Well, there's no Pandora app, and I need Pandora." Well, actually, there are a couple of Pandora apps. They're not made by Pandora, right? They're made by other people, but they work fine. And in fact, I use one of them. They don't have every single Angry Birds game. They only have the first one. Right. You know, the new one is apparently coming at some point. Whatever. Okay, fine. I get that stuff, but I use the iPhone 4S fairly frequently now, not as much as before. I use the Windows Phone every day. I still prefer it by a wide margin, and I just like the way it works. And I think when you accompany that system by a device like this that's beautiful to look at and beautiful to hold and takes great pictures, hopefully, that's the complete package, you know, for a lot of people. And I think what people are looking for.
It's going to come down to, I think, people saying, well, maybe not. For somebody like me, it's going to come down to, does it have the apps I need? But I think for a new buyer, that's not the calculus they're going to make.
I would hope not. Because I don't think people even understand what they need, you know?
Right.
And I think I don't want to call it, it's not so much lock-in as it is kind of a mind lock-in where you just get used to doing things a certain way or using certain apps. And if it's not exactly the same on this other phone, well, I can't use it, you know? And it's like, well, but there are alternatives, you know? iPhone has a huge advantage with the ecosystem stuff. And I don't just mean services. I mean all of the hardware doodads you can get, the speaker docks and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's some niceties there, absolutely. But I don't know. There's no standardization on the Android side with regards to hardware, so that stuff is not an advantage on that side. And I just think these devices are great. I'm confused why they're not more popular, and I hope that this device.
This will be the one. This will be the one.
I hope so.
I think in every respect, they've got parity. In some respects, they've got an advantage. The screen is a good size, which I really like.
It's LTE.
It's LTE. The fit and finish and feel is just excellent on this thing.
It looks nice and glossy and fingerprinty.
Yeah, I gotta shine it up a little bit, but that's standard, right? You got to have that. Yeah, I love how it looks. I think even the cyan looks pretty good.
The camera placement is a little strange to me. It's in the middle, but it's also a little further down from the top.
That's a Nokia thing. They do that. That's where Nokia puts their cameras.
Holding that thing normally as you would to take pictures, is that a problem?
No, in fact, it's better because what I find on a lot of phones, because the cameras are almost always in the corner. Yeah. It's very easy if you hold it wrong to put your finger over it. I almost always have to move the phone around. So this is going to be a little harder to get your finger in the way. Gotcha. Of course, cases will have to be designed and everything. The thing that's the best about Windows Phone is it has a dedicated hardware camera button, and even in lock mode, you press that, it goes right to the phone and camera and takes a picture. And that is I think that is a significant advantage.
I know, it's crazy. It's like a single button, but it's a big deal. Yep.
No, I love that. And I think the hardware camera button. Now, admittedly, there's no labeling. And this is a little confusing for me. You get used to it. Yeah. But there are 4 buttons on the side with no labels. I mean, you figure out pretty quickly that's volume up and down, the 2 together. The middle one's on, off, and then that's the camera button. But the fact that there's not even an icon.
And they're all on the same side. That's a little unusual.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the other side would have the volume rocker.
Right.
And the other stuff would be on that side.
But I don't know if you can tell, but I mean it's a great screen, and it's very snappy. Anybody who says, "Well, it's single core processor compared to
anyone who talks like that has no idea what they're talking about."
It's not an issue. It's plenty. Well, let's not show phone numbers. It's plenty of speed on this thing.
There are motorcycles that are faster than cars, and they have smaller engines.
Yeah, there you go.
That's not really how it works.
The truth is, multitasking on a phone is a misnomer. It's not really something you want. This does what it needs to do. It does.
Hold down hold down that back button. You'll get the multitasking interface.
Yeah. So these are all the things running in the background. I think that's a very nicely done, by the way.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the thing I like the most about about WebOS was that card thing. That's good. I did not know about that, actually. I got to read your book. No, I think I will have no hesitation to recommend this. The problem is, again, it is apps. It's solely apps. It's not the number of apps. It's that people are going to say, well, I hear about this Instagram thing. I'd like to use it.
There are Instagram alternatives on Windows Phone?
There are alternatives.
Well, Instagram just came out like yesterday
for Android.
I mean, it's
right.
not like you know, but sure, fair enough. I mean, if you want
that's
to
what's
engage
I'm not that's an example. There for some people there will be that app, right?
Yep, of course.
And that's to me that's the only reason I could think of that you would say, "Oh, I'm not going to get that phone." Because in every other respect, its hardware is superb. The speed of it, the operation of it. I think the Metro UI is very straightforward, easy to use. I love it that it's something different, that it's not a grid of icons like everybody else.
Though it is a grid of sorts, isn't it?
Well,
but it's a grid. It's a grid of smart tiles. It's in other words,
I like the tile, and this is what actually has kind of won me over on Windows 8. Is I actually, you know, you're going to think this is funny.
It depends on how you do it. It depends on how you can configure it.
We're designing the web page for the radio show, and I told the designers, I kind of like it a Metro. The front page should be a little Metro, and I thought I'm in real trouble here because these guys, I'm sure, are all Mac guys. But I
probably
think
misunderstood you, and we'll turn it into some kind of metrosexual nightmare thing.
No, I like the flat, simple tiles is actually a real because what happens is this is what I grokked that I really like about it, and I like it in Windows 8 too. Instead of giving you a list of messages or a list of contacts, it gives you one. It says there's a message. Here's a contact. Here's a picture. You know now if I drill down on that tile, that picture is going to go to a list of pictures. That's, you know, it's exactly what you want, I think.
Yeah.
I love these active tiles. I think that they did a good job in 7.5 of making them more active.
There are these weird little efficiencies built into Windows Phone that are kind of hard to communicate, but I find myself missing them when I use other phones.
I think, truthfully, that happens with every phone, that every phone you kind of learn the pathways and you get used to it. And that, frankly, is why it's tough for Windows Phone because the pathways have been learned. The iPhone's been out for 5 years.
So in other words, by doing the right thing and not just making an abject copy of the popular phone, they've kind of done the wrong thing because now people don't want to switch to it.
They have to relearn. Yep.
But, yeah, I still think they did the right thing. So
no, I did too. Now, pricing is aggressive here.
Yeah.
$100. And I'm seeing it for $50 in some places like Walmart.
Yep.
They have the unlocked version is also fairly inexpensive. It's less than an unlocked iPhone or Android phone.
Yes.
So I think that that's probably what I'll get is an unlocked version of it.
It's also sold out, so if you try to pre-order it now, it's just not available.
That's kind of too bad, but I'm going to hold out for the what? Well, I like the cyan a lot.
I did too.
It's really pretty. Yeah. It's also distinctive.
I wish they had more though. You know, don't you wish there was a red one?
Yeah. This would be great in red.
Yeah. I don't know why they don't have different colors like that.
Well, Alex Gumpel, who is really truly the guy at TWiT who knows besides Paul, who knows Windows Phone best, is going to review this tonight on Before You Buy.
Nice.
Yeah, I decided he should review it since he is the expert. They have some new ads mocking the iPhone.
Yeah, have you seen these things?
No, let me see if I can find them.
Oh, I should have linked to them.
They're Nokia ads?
Yeah, let's see.
I'm sure if I Google Nokia mocks the iPhone, actually even better, if I Bing Nokia mocks the iPhone, it should just pop right up. It should just give me that result. Well, there is a website you can go to. Yeah, here it is. Let's see. Smartphonebetatest.com, I think. Oh, so these are not TV ads? No, actually, they are on TV. Typing smartphonebetatest.com in. Smartphone. It's almost over. 1 day, 4 hours remaining. What are they doing here? It's unclear. But the 3 boxes below. He's just sitting here. Oh, this is that guy. This is the Specimen. Guy from, Dirty Rock. Dr. Specimen. Yeah, he's also an archer. But he's just going to sit there for hours? Yes. The 3 boxes below are the 3 ads. Wait a minute. I just want to watch him for a while. I've always liked this guy. Yeah. Dr. Specimen. All right. Exhibit A, Death Grip. This is the TV ad for, and it looks like it's, now I have to narrate because a lot of people listen in audio, and so I'm going to narrate a little bit. I apologize. But you can go to smartphonebetatest.com if you don't want to hear it. If you ever thought that maybe your smartphone wasn't all that it was cracked up to be, that's because it wasn't.
In this recently obtained, never-before-seen footage, we go behind the scenes to get the rest of the story.
So it's like a blurred out iPhone.
Guys, am I crazy or did all the signal bars just go away?
That's because you're holding it wrong.
That is user error.
Okay, well, how am I supposed to hold it?
Not like that.
Shouldn't I just be able to hold it however I want?
Stop acting like a spoiled child and use the approved grip.
Look. No signal.
Don't hold it like that.
I have to admit,
It's still doing
Apple
it.
really opened it up to that one.
Oh, yeah.
Put the phone down.
But I want to know how to hold it.
Don't make me fire you.
Fire him.
SmartphoneBetaTest.com.
Okay, so that was like a camera watching,
If you ever thought,
an office. Here's another one. Let's see. We'll go to outside. This is Exhibit B. Again, it's a blurred out security cam. Two guys sitting in a cubicle with...
if you ever thought that maybe your smartphone wasn't all that it was cracked up to be, that's because it wasn't. In this recently obtained, never-before-seen footage, we go behind the scenes to get the rest of the story.
You know, guys, I think we have a problem.
Ooh, everybody quiet.
2007.
He's thinking.
I was using this thing outside, and the screen really washes out in the sun. It's hard to see.
So don't go outside.
See? We have a workaround. What's the problem?
I like the workaround. It's smart.
But people do go outside, often in daylight.
You know, 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered in water. Maybe we should give the phone a life raft.
In the unlikely event of a water landing, Gary is still an idiot.
Hey, that's kind of...
Poor Gary.
I think it's fair.
It's completely
The
fair.
hipsters are
Screen's
mocking
fine.
him.
People can just stay inside.
Interesting. A little annoying in production
SmartphoneBetaTest.com.
value. I'm kind of annoyed by this camera going bzz, 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 but I guess that's the theme. This one's... Should I play one more? This is called...
Yeah, why not?
Fragile. it's a special award. Let's see.
If you ever thought that maybe your smartphone wasn't all that it was cracked up to be, that's because it wasn't. In this recently obtained, never-before-seen footage, we go behind the scenes to get the rest of the story.
Durability. We know it's an issue. What can we do about it?
Jeez, why are you being such a baby?
I just think the phone is fragile.
Oh, poor baby. You know who's fragile? You are.
Yeah, you're hurting the baby's feelings.
Guys, I'm trying to make a point here.
Here's the thing. Say someone drops the phone and it breaks. Bingo, we just sold another phone.
That's a win-win.
Oh,
You
this
know what
is
else
supposed
is a
to be Apple.
Mortgage-backed securities. I'm telling you, get in now.
No kidding.
Yeah. I got a buddy at Lehman. Sick golfer.
I get it.
SmartphoneBetaTest.com.
These are at Apple people talking about
while
their
they're
phone.
designing whatever
Right,
version of
right.
the iPhone. Yeah.
So, this is their version of Switch, right? They don't name Apple, but it's pretty clear that they're talking about the death grip.
Well,
on
I think what
Apple.
they're doing is hitting on some of the key complaints. You know,
I don't have trouble looking at the iPhone outside. Is it less visible outside than other phones? I didn't really notice that.
I have an AMOLED
AMOLED looks good outside.
Windows phone that actually I can never see outside, so
Okay.
I'm not really
That
sure.
may not be the best attack point, but okay. I agree on the grip. That's smart. And fragile for sure. Now, I think any phone with a giant glass face is somewhat fragile. So,
how about a phone with a giant glass back too?
the glass back probably was a mistake.
A little unnecessary.
But the glass face is still going to be fragile. So I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, and these are Nokia, not Microsoft.
Right.
So that's good. Microsoft's getting some help from the manufacturer.
Yeah, it's about
I
time.
like it. Yeah, I can't remember Samsung doing any Windows Phone ads.
Samsung probably makes a little too much money selling Android phones to bother with
they've done
that.
quite a
but
few
yeah.
Android ads.
Yep.
We all thought this was an April Fool's story on the Windows SuperSite. Internet Explorer usage share up.
You know, I got a couple of comments to that end, but this is actually the fourth month in a
true.
row it's been up, so
It's
I'm not
true.
really sure.
Yeah.
Or a third month, I should say. But yeah, so, Internet Explorer, I mean, every month Net Applications comes out with its data for website usage. Every month, every tech blog on Earth, pulls out their boilerplate article for IE falls yet again, but it hasn't been true all year. So it's kind of interesting. It's not like it's jumped up some huge amount, but it kind of leveled off, and then it's actually been growing. And by the way, growing at the expense of Firefox and Chrome, which have actually fallen in the last month. So I don't think IE is poised for any mammoth comeback per se.
Right.
But I think this is the natural way of things. And when you think about markets that are going to become more heterogeneous, this might be a good model for what the PC industry, or maybe I should call it the computing industry, is going to look like a few years down the road, right? Where this one thing used to be really dominant, but now there are other choices, and things kind of level off. Not necessarily the way this has, where IE has about 50% of the market, and the other two guys, split up the rest of it. But I do think that this kind of a three-way race is an interesting model for what the future of computing could look like as well, generally speaking, so that maybe Windows, iOS, and Android, through whatever percentages, will split that market up, that general purpose computing market of the future. So I think it's interesting to watch this market, if just for that reason, because I think this is a template, for maybe what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I hope we get some competition.
Well, I
just think it. It's what you don't want. It's kind of I'm in the wine country.
Yeah,
bear with me. This is going to all make sense. I'm in the wine country.
This is like a Jonathan Quill Higgins story. I remember back in New Guinea, 1952.
And one of the problems with having everything, every hillside, every field in this area planted with grapes is a monoculture. Yep. And so it's very easy for one disease to wipe it out. And I think from a security point of view, from a competition point of view, and so forth, having three strong browsers, Chrome, Firefox, and IE, is not make it four if you include Safari, is not a bad thing. I hate to see one browser dominant.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. And I think that's going to be true for computing devices, mobile devices, whatever. I mean, it is healthier.
Same thing for phones. We don't want just one thing.
No, we really don't. And at least in Microsoft's place, we can look back and see what happens when they are dominant. They do things like IE6.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
We don't need a repeat of that.
So it's good that they've had to struggle and make IE9 as good as it is, IE10 as good as it is. I think.
Well, yeah. So as IE has fallen over the years, you see what they're doing now, IE9, and what they're doing with IE10, and you see them actually going after legitimate targets, standards, compliance, and so forth. And it's nice. It's the way it should be.
Well, they need to do that. You do have to. That's the trick, right? You want competition, but you also want standards. It's a little tricky, and you don't all want to be on WebKit. You'd kind of like to have some other, fortunately, Firefox is Gecko. But Chrome and Safari are WebKit. But IE's not WebKit, is it? That's their own.
Trident rendering engine.
Their own engine. All right. So we've got Trident, Gecko, WebKit, and then there's always Opera.
Is there, though?
Oh, yeah.
Is there?
Oh, yeah. MDOP. Is that how you say it?
Yep.
What?
I know.
That sounds like an enterprise product. Goes right in there with BPOS. What is
it?
MDOP?
It is. Although I've been pushing Microsoft for years to make this more generally available. Microsoft makes this thing available called MDOP. MDOP is the Microsoft Desktop Optimization Pack. It's a collection of utilities that are available essentially to volume license customers. Although actually, if you get Windows Intune, you can also license MDOP through that service very cheaply. I think it's $1 per license or something. For those users as well. So the tools are all around deployment and virtualization, and also diagnostics and recovery. So they have the Dart recovery environment, which is fantastic. Every couple of years, they kind of rev it. It's the applications or utilities that make up the suite are kind of revved on their own schedules. And over the past 2 weeks, they've been talking about new versions of some of the apps, and in one case, a brand new app that will expand the suite into new areas. So the thing I'm really excited about that's part of this new one is a new app that's called User Experience Virtualization, or UEV, right? So Microsoft has these, one of the other tools that's in MDOP is called Application Virtualization. And it's a way that organizations, corporations can stream or deliver, or deploy, I guess would be the term, virtualized applications to desktops. So in other words, they package it up in the central office, and then they deploy it out to the desktops. And it sits there in a virtualized package of its own on your PC. So it's isolated from the rest of the PC. It's centrally controlled. You don't have to worry about it. To the user, it just looks like an app. So it's configured the way the company wants it. And they can turn it on and off, as they need to and so forth as well. So if the employee leaves the company, they'll no longer have access to those apps or whatever. That's a nice capability. But if you move from PC to PC, as people often do, you maybe use a PC at work, one at home, or like even a home computer, or you're on the road and you want to use a kiosk or whatever. One of the problems is like people expect to have their personal environments kind of go with them. So in addition to the operating system, which can be delivered virtually, and the applications, which can be delivered virtually, both in various ways, there's this concept of user experience virtualization. So in the past, they've had things like folder redirection or offline folders where I could be sitting on a plane and accessing the network even though I'm offline because those things are cached, on my PC. And that's that's a nice feature. But they never had a way to virtualize your settings, your customizations, your Windows customizations, your application customizations. And so this new tool adds that capability. It's compatible with Windows 8 as well as Windows 7, as is the new version of application virtualization. And so these things all together provide a very interesting kind of set of capabilities all of a sudden where you could sit down at a computer, log on with your domain credentials or whatever, automatically have all of your apps delivered, but now also automatically have all of your custom wallpaper and your dictionary settings and whatever custom office settings you made. And so it's kind of like the full meal deal now. You get the whole thing. So if your laptop gets stolen and you get a new loaner laptop or a new laptop, or you just come into the office and use a different computer for the first time, whatever it is, this is the final piece of the puzzle, I would say, because they used to talk about this user virtualization stuff, and it was kind of incomplete. But now I think with user experience virtualization, it's a more complete, or arguably complete solution maybe for the first time. So it's in beta now. Application Virtualization 5.0, which is a new version of that, is also in beta. And there's a new version of Dart, which is that Diagnostics and Recovery Toolkit, I think is the name of it, also in beta. That was announced last week. So these things will come together and form some future new version of MDOP, that will be released maybe this year or next year, that will be, fully Windows 8 compatible.
Can I just, do I have to use it in an enterprise? Can I just have it for my own personal?
Yeah, most of these actually will work outside of the enterprise. So one of the things I'm going to test, I downloaded this stuff and I was looking through it. They talk a lot about Active Directory, but if I'm reading this correctly, I believe you can deploy user experience virtualization through Windows Intune, which is not enterprise based and not domain based. And I'm gonna test it. I do have a domain setup that I can use, but I'm curious about this stuff for my own kind of use, because if you think about it, I blow away computers all the time and I come back, and it would be kind of neat to be able to turn on a PC for the first time and install Windows. Windows 8 does that now in 8 minutes. And kind of blow all this stuff onto the PC in a centrally managed way. I mean, even just for me, and I think there were a lot of power users like this who would love this capability.
A lot of us use Ninite, which gives you kind of that same.
This is sort of a managed version of that.
Problem with Ninite is it's a limited number of apps, and
it's online apps. This type of stuff. I could make packages for Photoshop, for Office.
See, that would be really sweet. Yeah,
very, very interesting. So
think of it as a Ninite for all your apps, and it's just be a bundle that you would just push a button and.
Yeah, and then the user experience virtualization would be something that I don't believe is part of Ninite, where it's not just the apps, it's the custom settings, right? Yeah. So in other words, imagine, obviously some apps have this stuff, so when you could log into Chrome and it synchronizes settings, but imagine if you could install...
So nice when stuff does that.
...other apps that have that same capability, yeah.
So theoretically, we might get that in Windows 8 across the board, you think?
I think what you're going to... So there are enterprise features and then there are consumer features, right? So it's interesting to see how they kind of bleed across. In Windows 8 natively, when you log on just as a local user or with your Microsoft account, you do get the ability to sync settings across PCs. And it's funny because it works so well, it's almost kind of annoying, So on a tablet, I could set it up with the wallpaper and stuff that I want. And when I go and log in on my desktop, that wallpaper is replicated, as are some interesting Explorer settings. So for example, if you put your taskbar on the side of the screen instead of the bottom, that will be replicated across the PCs that you use with Windows 8.
See, that's nice.
Very interesting. Yeah, so those capabilities are related. They're delivered in different ways, obviously, for businesses and consumers. But yeah, I definitely think there's some some bleed through, between the two the two types of users.
Well, we're going that way anyway. I mean, basically everything, all your settings will be in the cloud, your apps will be in the cloud. You just, you'll log into your any arbitrary computer, and it's your computer suddenly. I mean, I think that's
it's fantastic.
That's the point of cloud, I would guess.
Yep.
Xbox 360 is making me mad because I bought a PS3 for my new setup, my home theater, because I wanted the Blu-ray disc. And I wish now, when they announced this Xfinity MLB and HBO Go, it's making the Xbox 360 look like the preeminent set-top box.
There's one thing I would say that keeps the Xbox ahead of the competition, and one key thing that's missing from the Xbox that would just make it a no-brainer. The one thing that's missing is Amazon. We have on the Xbox side Netflix already.
Yeah.
Okay, but the reason you want Amazon is you want an alternative to the Apple ecosystem, that where you can buy and rent video content, TV shows and movies.
Yep.
Right?
I agree.
Now, we have that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a Zune marketplace in there that does that. But, I kind of like to, if I'm going to buy content, and I think most people, anyone who would buy this kind of content, and by the way, I don't think there are many, but if you're going to buy this kind of stuff, you kind of want to do it for a platform that makes sense. It's going to work everywhere. And the problem with the Zune stuff is it works on PCs, of course, and it will work on a select minority of devices, Zune devices and Windows phones and so forth. But actually, it won't work on Windows Phone, so never mind about that. So it works on Xboxes, of course, but that's not really great. And the Amazon thing, I think, has that benefit of being available in more places.
Mm-hmm.
It's not universal. It's not as it's not nothing is, but it's a little bit better. I think that's the one thing that would be nice to have. But the one technical feature that Xbox has that I don't think a lot of people realize or know about is it has this amazing ability to stream 1080p. And what I mean by that is when you start streaming anything, so if you go to HBO Go and you start watching Game of Thrones, or you go to Netflix, well, Netflix probably doesn't offer 1080p, so
it does.
That's a bad example. It does, okay.
Yeah, everything's
but if you,
going that way.
Anything you have purchased on Zune Marketplace, I as a test had bought the movie, what do you call it? Hot Tub Time Machine, right?
Sure, you were just testing things. I understand.
Well, no, I got it because it was new at the time and it was 1080p.
It's actually a great movie.
So now I can stream that at any time from the Xbox. Anytime, you log in with your account. It's just there. It's available for streaming forever.
Yeah.
And what it does is it's kind of an adaptive streaming. So when it first starts streaming, it looks like a YouTube video. And about 3 seconds into it, it clears up a little bit. It's kind of like standard definition, not bad. A little bit better, 720p. But eventually it hits 1080p, and then it's rock solid. And what it's doing is, obviously caching as it downloads the stuff.
Right.
And but it will let you play the video from the beginning. And so for the first, 10, 30 seconds, whatever, it's not quite 1080p, but it gives you that near instantaneous start as if the thing were sitting there on your hard drive or on a disk or whatever. And it is an amazing capability, and it works with all of these services that support it. So I know HBO Go is an example of one that does. And I played it here in my office on the Xbox. Here, I've done it out on my HD TV, where you kind of, you stand in front of the screen and you're looking for those little blotchy areas in the background. Maybe it's a dark scene or whatever, to see what the quality is. I have to say, obviously Blu-ray is probably the standard at this point for 1920 by 1080, but it's really good. I mean, it's really good. And there's some neat stuff. And I would say this week, they've added Xfinity support and Major League Baseball and HBO Go. And it's getting pretty close, where it's like this is kind of the place to be. And unrelated to this, or maybe not coincidentally, but Microsoft also revealed this week that for the first time, Xbox users are spending over half of their time using the console, not playing video games, but doing this other entertainment content.
More than half?
Yeah, more than half.
Wow.
The reason that's interesting is that, the Xbox, the point behind it was to serve the hardcore gaming market, right? It wasn't not just gamers, but people who were like really into games,
Right.
It brought...
Well, it is the best gaming platform. I mean, period.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But it also sort of legitimatized. there's a word I just invented.
I like that.
It's sort of...
It legitimated.
Yeah. I'm sick, Leo.
I'm sure I shouldn't make you laugh. It legitimated the overall concept.
Well, the concept of a shooter on a console was semi-ridiculous. I mean, there were some.
Oh God! Now it's the only way to play.
But now, now it is not just accepted; it's the way to do it.
Right.
So, but here we are on this console that was kind of aimed originally at the hardcore part of the market. And, there's a lot of kids' content and, little.
But this is always what Microsoft wanted. This was going to be their stealth set-top box play.
It lends some credence to the notion that, people have said there's a rumor that for the next Xbox, that there'll be some version of it that's not a video game machine. In other words, you could have a really low-end device that just provided this content.
It's just a Roku or a Apple TV.
Apple TV, exactly, without the video games. And I could see that. I could really see that. In fact, for me personally, I liked having the Xbox on a dedicated screen, and we play video games on that. But, out in the living room, what I really want is that Apple TV/Roku type device, something that's small and silent and, simple remote and just does what it's supposed to do. So, the 360's got a nice UI. I was goofing around about the music app. I mean, the Metro UIs on the Xbox are just like the one in the music app, actually. I mean, exactly like that. They're very similar. When you go into HBO Go, for example, it's just Metro experience. It's crazy looking. But it works well. It's nice. And that's a nice kind of UI to navigate with a remote as well.
Mm-hmm. It does baffle me that Sony is paying so little attention to this, since they do have some machines out there connected to televisions, I understand.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Sony, I was talking about this the other day. Sony years ago, I guess when the PS3 first came out, I don't remember what the name of that UI is that debuted on the PSP and then they brought it into the PS3 as well. I always felt like that was a really nice UI for HD TVs.
It looks good.
That this was something that could be successful. But they never really did anything around the entertainment stuff. Coincidentally, this week, by the way, they announced that the Amazon services are now available on the PS3. But I would say overall, they're pretty far behind the Xbox with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's funny. What do I have hooked up to my TV? I have an Apple TV. I have, believe it or not, a Google TV, the review, and I have a PS3. So there's 3 ways I can watch Netflix. There's 3 ways I can watch Amazon. I mean, I
have a Apple TV, Roku, and a
There's
Xbox.
A lot of overlap, isn't there?
We also have a Google TV, but that's separate, and God, I hate it. We just never use that.
Once they updated it, I've actually kind of fallen for it.
Really?
Well, it's a silly reason, but it doesn't take an HDMI slot. It's
no. That's actually, by the way, that's not a silly reason at all. In fact, I think the strategy for Google TV might be to integrate that UI into TVs.
Right.
Just make
it
that
is actually. Who was it? Was it LG announced at CES a Google TV?
If every TV maker offered that as a capability.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think that would be smart.
Well, what's bad is they're all going their own way, and these guys do not know how to design UIs. They don't know how to design apps, and it's just awful. And, we had a Samsung TV with the smart apps, great TV, but every once in a while I'm watching a show, and it would pop up a thing saying you need to log into your Facebook account. It's like, no, I'm watching TV right now, thank you. I mean, and then you got to go to their app store, and it's just an ungainly experience.
It's like the complexity of the PC industry hitting every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, it's all the things you hate about PCs in a TV. Great, just what we need. Yep. You did point to this video. This is Walter Isaacson.
Yeah, we can't watch this on the show, but
it's too long to play, but it's worth playing.
No, but listen, if you care about this stuff, a very interesting interview.
He's the Steve Jobs biographer.
Yeah. Now he says something toward the end of this video that I think is very interesting. I think so. I'm surprised this hasn't gotten more news.
We covered it when it happened, but you're right. It has not gotten the coverage I thought it deserved.
My takeaway from this is that I don't actually think Apple's making a TV.
Right.
I think what he's saying is because in the book, remember, he wrote. Steve Jobs had been quoted as saying, "We cracked it," right?
Right.
And one of the things he says in the video, the biographer, is, I had a decision to make.
Yeah.
Right. I had a decision to make. When I published this book, I could have just screwed Apple and detailed their plans for textbooks and TV. But I didn't, out of respect to the company and Steve Jobs. So he kind of alluded to, he provided the vague quotes.
Right.
And what he said, I think it was in response to an audience question, was, I'm not going to reveal any more information here, obviously. But then he kind of did. And what he alluded to was, or what he said was that basically that Steve Jobs had gotten the agreements from the industry that they had previously gotten from the music industry, which was to put all of their content into this system. And that's what he kind of meant by we cracked it. You know, that this stuff would be available through the Apple TV service cheaply and, you know, using an elegant interface with a simple remote and all that kind of stuff. And as I listened to him talk, I thought to myself, they're not building a TV.
We gave them too much credit. It wasn't.
You hear TV and you think you're building a TV,
right?
You know,
but they have a TV device. No, I agree with you.
I think TV is a service.
I've always thought it made no sense to build a TV.
In other words, yeah. Well, you can plug it's a $99 device.
Exactly.
By the way, we just talked about Google integrating Google TV into TVs. I mean, integrating Apple TV into TVs would be a much better idea. For everybody, I mean,
it wouldn't be something Apple would do. It'd be, Apple does not license to people, so it's not going to happen.
But
maybe
that would be an amazing thing.
Tim Cook might.
That makes more sense than
much more. Buy a Samsung TV with Apple TV built in makes much more sense.
Oh, it'd be incredible.
Yeah.
But even as it is today, it's $99. It's the simplest thing in the world. If I could get TV through that thing,
right. You would cut the cord.
Listen, I think I swear at my set-top box every day. I hate it.
Right.
Fios this year, first of all, the box itself looks like a relic from the Apollo space program.
I know,
it is the most horrific piece of machinery on Earth. You know, one of those Motorola set-top boxes.
Square, ugly. Yours is silver.
It's a pizza box.
Yeah. You have the
It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's made by a company called Scientific Atlanta. I mean, come on.
Slowest.
What the hell is that all about?
They just updated the user interface, right, for the software, which is nice looking, but now it's slower than crap.
Yeah.
Like this
is the same problem the TV companies. These guys don't know how. First of all, they need to keep prices down, so they don't put a processor in there. You know, it's the slowest thing they could find.
It has like a Zilog Z80 in it. I think it's seriously like 64 KB of RAM. You'll never need more than this, sir.
Yeah.
No, it is horrific.
And yet you're seeing now in some of these new TVs, you're seeing Intel Core, i5s and stuff. But the set-top boxes are brain dead. They're horrible.
What we need is to get rid of these boxes,
I
right?
agree.
I mean, and integrating them into a TV is one way to do it.
But
integrating it as software into a computing device is another way to do it.
This was Bill Gates' desire.
Yes.
He wanted to do this. And in fact, didn't Microsoft create a set-top box? I seem to remember that they did.
Actually, they decided not to go the set-top.
Because the cable company said, in your dreams, because anything that would run Windows or even CE is going to cost way too much, we've got these nice cheap boxes from Scientific Atlanta. We're going to keep using those.
Microsoft had many of these things. So there was Ultimate TV.
Right.
They still actually in the market today have set-top boxes that they sell through AT&T and internationally in Portugal and other countries.
Oh, that's interesting.
Obviously, they have Media Center, which is a PC-based solution, software solution. So Microsoft has tried this many routes.
Never with
Microsoft,
success.
10 years ago, 15 years ago, nobody wanted Microsoft involved because they were the big kahuna in the PC industry and people were afraid of them.
Scared. Yeah.
Today might be a slightly different story. And I'm sure people are afraid of Apple for the same reasons.
Much more afraid. And yet, these companies have so much experience with UI design.
I know.
And they do so much. Why is Samsung reinventing the wheel?
If I was Sony, Samsung, LG, whoever makes TVs today, I would hand the keys to the kingdom to them, and I would put that stuff in those TVs. I would put Apple
You know what?
TV.
They will, because at this point, they're doing such a bad job.
Yeah.
I've yet to see a smart TV
I would love to get rid of my set-top box from Fios. I hate it. I curse it every day.
And the truth is, if you can buy a $99 box, whether it's an Xbox, low end, or an Apple TV or a Roku, plugs into your TV, gives it internet access, gives it all of these nice capabilities with a well-designed UI. What's wrong with that?
Well, okay. So today it doesn't do everything, right? You don't get. First of all, there's a.
Well, it's impossible to choose because some do. Everything does something different.
Yeah, no, in other words, the reason we have a cable set-top box actually is because we have children, but whatever. So we have
live TV.
Whatever selection of TV channels we have. We have HBO and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you kind of have to have that.
Right.
But there's a fee associated with this every month.
Right.
And if Apple could do that, where it was basically the same selection of content for roughly the same price, obviously you would be splitting this money between Apple and whoever else your provider, whatever it is.
Well, that's the nice thing, because Apple just wants 30% because they make money on the hardware. So they don't need to be rapacious in their
Rapacious.
Rapacious. It's a special word.
Legitimatize.
Legitimatize the legitimation.
Apple would legitimatize this.
They would legitimatize this. Finally, our favorite topic, patents. We had Jeff Clavier, the venture capitalist, on the Triangulation yesterday. And I asked him, well, how much of a damper on innovation is this patent stuff? And he said it's
Is it?
Yeah. He said it's terrible.
Are we heading toward like patent-mageddon or whatever? I mean,
he says it's got to change. It's got to change. And the thing that he uses as an example is Yahoo falling apart, just dying, and saying, bringing a new CEO, and the guy says, well, we're going to fire 15% of our staff. We're going to shut down all these properties. Our future is suing the hell out of Facebook.
Well, I hope their future is a little bit more than that.
Well, I would hope so too, but he sure doesn't. The funny thing is Facebook came back a couple of days ago with a countersuit that was.
I believe the countersuit literally said na.
Yeah, it said here's the 10 patents that prove that we own the 10 things you don't like. They didn't go any farther, which I admire. They could have countersued with a bunch of other stuff, saying, well, and by the way, you're violating our patents. But they didn't.
Facebook doesn't strike me as the kings of intellectual property. But I have to imagine at Facebook when Yahoo approached them with this first behind closed doors that they were like, seriously?
Really? You invented social network? Jeez. Well, the truth is that Facebook went out and bought patents as a defense. I mean, some of the patents that they were countersuing with, they'd bought the day before.
Almost all of them, yeah. They predate Facebook,
yeah.
Which is fine.
Hey, that's how you do it.
That's a strategy.
But
better than Google. Like, Google never bought anything.
That's the problem with all of this, is you spend time and money and energy on something that doesn't help anybody. It gets you nowhere.
It's a hard thing. There are obviously frivolous patents, and I'm sure many of them are frivolous, ludicrous, general concepts. There are legitimate advances that have occurred that people, they want the credit and the payment for creating
if you invented intermittent windshield wipers and GM stole it from you, you have every right to pursue that. That's but that's not a software patent.
That's a movie, is what that is. A documentary or whatever.
So as we continue in these mobile patents, I guess the EU is investigating Motorola. Now a Google company.
Soon to be, yeah.
The EU hates Motorola. I mean, hates Google. I
think the EU hates everything.
They hate everything.
I think the EU would like us all to be one giant collective farm of, freewheeling gift giving or whatever. But, they don't like big companies, that's for sure.
No.
I view that with a sense of amusement.
They're socialists.
Okay. Socialism isn't as bad as people think it is, but the form of socialism is what people imagine, I think, when they hear socialism. It's
anti-corporate.
It's a little much,
yeah. Anti-corporate.
Not that I think like corporations should be viewed as people, but I think between these two extremes, there's some kind of a logical middle ground or a pragmatic middle ground we could hit on. The EU is absolutely at some extreme when it comes to corporations. Yeah,
I'd agree on that. Let's get our Audible pick of the week, and then I will get your pick. And we have a bunch of tips. Since Mary Jo's not here, we're going to replace the enterprise stuff with something you're really interested in. So that'll be fun.
Okay.
No, I'm just teasing. But first, let's go to audible.com/windows, where you can sign up for the Audible Gold account. That's a book a month. But here's a nice thing. Your first book is free. First credit is free. That means you've got a very tough thing to do here. You've got to go to Audible and pick something, one thing for your sample. It's a great thing to do. I like it that Audible does this because it means you really can find out, do I like audiobooks? Can I listen to audiobooks? Tell me, is this going to be something for me? I think you will, but I would say pick wisely because you pick a good book, you'll get a real sense of what audiobooks can do for you. Fortunately, we have a fella here who, like me, loves audible.com and has a recommendation for you.
Actually, I guess I have two.
All right.
I threw this one in at the request of my wife, if you can believe that. My wife and son both read The Hunger Games by Susan Collins, which, of course, was
Have you seen the movie yet?
No, I will. I tend not to see movies in the theater, so I'll probably wait. My son was in line on day one. He saw this in the meeting.
I really want to see it, but I kind of want to read the book first.
So this is a tough one for me. There are certain books that I just can't wrap my head around for various reasons. So, for example, the Harry Potter books. As much as I like science fiction and fantasy and stuff, I just can't.
No,
to me, there just isn't an original thought there. I try to pay attention.
I completely agree with you. In fact,
can't do it.
The only reason I loved those books is because I could read them to my kids, and that was really great. But they were not great writing. I hate to say it.
Yeah, so I just won't do it.
Yeah.
So there are books like Game of Thrones is a good example. That whole series of books,
wonderful.
I sort of resisted those for years because as a sort of an old school Asimov Tolkien fan, I thought, no one is going to do this epic thing right anymore. It's just going to be a copy like Sword of Shannara or something. But actually, those books are amazing. They're almost too detailed.
It's hard to believe that he could create this universe in his head.
Yeah. So actually, that's great. I think in the middle we have something like The Hunger Games. My wife insists that this is actually a very good book. In fact, she's read all three of them and says that this, by far, is the best of those three. I listen to what it's about, and I hear things that, to me, are reminiscent of, as I wrote in the notes, Ender's Game, Lord of the Flies, Battle Royale. I mean, all kinds of different concepts that have kind of been circling the sci-fi fantasy realm for a long, long time.
Right.
But it seems like I'll definitely see the movie, and I can't. It is kind of one of those young adult fiction type titles, kind of like Jumper, which I had recommended some time ago. But I'm assured that it's very good. My wife, who is intelligent and an adult, so I will throw her that.
Many folks have assured me that it is as well.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out, though, is I had a pick some time ago, probably a couple of years ago, a book called The Tourists by Olin Steinhauer. This is a fantastic book. And if you like the John Le Carré type stuff, I would say this is one of the few books. I would say it's one of the few books that kind of approaches that style of thing. I actually did pick this book some time ago, but in the interim, and I have not read these yet, but they've both gotten awesome reviews. He's written two other books in this series with the same main character. The newest one, I believe, that just came out is called An American Spy. And
so there's three in the series. These are the Milo Weaver books. Series. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I've only read the first one, but if you like that kind of thing, and I do, the first one at least is one of the best books I've ever read. That's a fantastic book.
I'm adding it right now to my cart.
Yeah, I'd start. Obviously, you want to start with the first one.
I have 2 credits, so
that's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah. So if the young adult fiction thing is not your thing, shoot for that.
The deal with Audible is it will play on everything. God, I really thought I was told we were going to have in March an Audible client for a Windows phone.
Oh well, should be coming soon.
Any minute now. I mean, it really is close. Maybe there was
I can show
get along.
I don't know.
So you've got the beta.
Yeah, I actually haven't even installed the latest.
The nice thing about having the client is it has your whole library. You can pick any. Oh, look at that! Ooh, it's kind of. It's more styling than the one on Android. Oh, look at that! It's very Metro. Wow. Okay, worth waiting for. So look, here's the deal: get Audible. Get the app on your phone, Android, iPhone, and very soon Windows Phone. And your whole library is always available there. You can listen on the phone, but you can listen on lots of other devices. Audible plays everywhere, including your computer. And I'll tell you, there's always times that you cannot read a book, but you could listen. The gym, commuting, carpool. It's a lifesaver for me. I actually put it on the stereo and listen while I'm doing the housework. I just love it. Audible.com/Windows. Your first one's free. The Tourist. That sounds good. Hunger Games, if you're going to go see that. I like to read a book before I see the movie. Some great choices.
Well, the other way to do it, though, is if you like a movie and there is a book based, that the movie's based on, oftentimes,
go the other way.
Sure. Go the other way because the book fills in all the details. Game of Thrones is a great example of that. The TV show is very detailed, but there are these interesting details in the show that you're sort of curious, why does that woman have red teeth? Or what was that all about? And you read the book, and there's a whole background story for everything. It's rather amazing. So certainly the other direction is also interesting.
I guess it just depends what medium you like the best.
Yep. Actually, can I ask you an Audible support question if you know the answer?
Certainly.
Obviously, you can buy books through Audible.
Yeah.
And if you have a supported app, they appear automatically and so forth. But you can also buy Audible books through the iTunes store.
Right.
Now, I did that recently.
Then they're not in your library, though.
And they're not in my library.
No, they're only in your library if you buy them from Audible. The iTunes thing is because Apple supports natively the DRM format for Audible.
So that's literally
file.
stuck in my Apple account.
Yeah, I hate to say it. And there's reasons for that. For instance, Apple was able to negotiate an exclusive for, I think it was the Harry Potter books. So you couldn't get them on Audible, but you could get them on the iBook store, but it's still an Audible purchase.
The reason I wouldn't normally, I don't even know why I checked, but I assume that I recommended The Gunslinger a few weeks back, a month ago, 2 months ago, whatever. The Gunslinger, that Stephen King story, the first one of the series, was, I mean, significantly less expensive on iTunes. Like, so much so that I was like, well, I'll just get it on iTunes. That's fine.
Right.
Now, of course, I have to listen to it on my iPhone.
Right.
I can't listen to it anywhere else. But
you did see that there's a new Stephen King novel in the Dark Tower series coming.
What?
Ha! Yes. I thought, because Audible started talking about this around April Fool's Day, I thought, oh, this is a joke. But no. Dark Tower 7, The Wind Through the Keyholes, coming April 24th. Isn't that exciting?
Did not know this.
Yes, so save a credit.
This changes everything, Leo.
I know, I'm excited. Have you read all of them?
Yeah.
I'm impressed. That's the longest.
I thought we were done.
That's the longest damn sequence of books. And, of course, you have to read The Stand and all the other books that are in that universe so that you get the complete picture.
I love, by the way, the crossover stuff in King's story. And it goes between his short stories, novellas, books. I mean, he references, there'll be a news story on the TV and one thing about an event that occurred in Castle Rock that was the focus of another book. I mean, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I love when he does
that. And that's why you have to read every single word Stephen King ever wrote, which could take more than 3 lifetimes.
I recommend it. I do. I recommend
that.
I'm
working on it. But anyway, The Stand is next for me. I'm finishing Clash of Kings from the Game of Thrones. I wanted to finish that before this miniseries.
Which one is that? Is that part 2?
That's the one we're watching on TV now.
I'm on the same.
Yeah, and then, but as soon as I'm done with that, this is the problem. I got to start driving places.
Oh, I know, going more long trips.
Yeah, because I just can't listen enough. That's great, isn't it nice though that you actually have time you want to read more. I mean, I think that it just brought this whole reading thing back into my life, and I'm just thrilled. Yeah. So let's get a tip of the week.
or several of them.
I like this one.
This is, I swear to God, I get this question every week.
No.
I do. I'm not kidding.
Paul
every
Thurrott,
week.
Where can I get a Windows sticker for my car?
I foolishly mentioned that I have these Windows logo stickers, which I do.
Because Apple, the reason is Apple does this. Every Apple product you buy comes with Windows stickers.
Right.
To me, it's a dumb thing to drive around a vehicle that announces, I have an expensive computer. It might even be in the car right now.
Maybe it's under my seat. You should check.
Why don't you check?
Here's the point in the window you should hit to smash it.
It just seems dumb. I mean, I will not do that. But
I hear you.
On the other hand, it's probably safe to have a Windows sticker in your car.
By the way, I would. By the way, this is an amazing bit of synergy here. But I mentioned the Windows for Workgroups resource kit.
Yeah.
Right, the screwdriver. You know what else that thing had in it? A Windows logo sticker.
Wow.
Yep. Anyway,
well, this is the new logo, which is nice.
Well, it's the current. It's the current one.
Oh,
so
it's not the new square one. You're right.
It's the famous one. So, this site has these Apple-like logo stickers, and you can get them in different sizes, including some pretty huge ones, and in different colors as well. So I ordered 2 or 3 of them. I don't recall. I haven't gotten them yet, but Jake Eisenberg wrote me with this, so thank you for this tip. This will be a site I'll be forwarding to people for the rest of my life, I'm sure. Hopefully, they'll come out with a Windows 8 version of the sticker as well.
They also have 58 different bat stickers, just in case.
I think they have. Yeah, they have.
This is a very strange site. If you want a sticker,
whatever your sticker needs are,
they got it.
Yeah, looks like clip art stickers to me.
Yeah, you know what? That's what they're doing. They're probably cutting vinyl decals on demand.
I've asked Microsoft again and again why they don't make this stuff available. And now that they're starting to have retail stores, they could sell posters and stickers and shirts and stuff. I mean, people love that kind of stuff.
I'm going to get a Centaur sticker because you never know.
I just miss Narnia.
Wouldn't it be funny if I got a thing that said Centaur on board? Anyway, I don't know why I thought of that. Tip number 2, by that site, Decals Planet, is decalsplanet.com. Stop bugging Paul. Tip number 2.
So one of the best things about Windows 8 is that you can log on with your Microsoft ID, like Thurrott at hotmail.com or whatever you use. And that's a new way of logging in, and it gives you all of this great integration that works in many ways. We talked about the synchronization of settings before. A lot of the apps use this automatically, so if you access your mail app, Hotmail Mail is right there automatically. If you access the People app, all of the social network stuff that you integrated through Windows Live is there. If you access the Photo app, all of the social networks and photo sharing sites you've integrated through Windows Live are there. It's nice. But the downside to it is that we have these home networks that have these other versions of Windows, Windows Home Server, Windows 7, Windows XP. Those things do not support Microsoft account types. And as you browse around your home network, or if you want to do file sharing or whatever, media sharing, these things rely on different sharing mechanisms. And, unfortunately, the advice in the past was always, well, if you're going to log onto this computer, you log on as Paul and you access whatever password you want. And then you log on to this second computer, make sure you're using the same account. And then when you do, those things are automatic. You can share across them. It's simple. Unfortunately, now that I'm logging in, it's thurrott@hotmail.com. So it's not, when I try to hit that other computer, it throws up this dialog that says, no, you're going to log in. And even though there's a little checkbox that says, save my credentials or whatever, it never saves your credentials. That's Microsoft's little networking April Fool's joke. So I wrote an article about there are two major ways you can get around this. One is to use home group networking, and the other one is just to configure your system in a certain way so that this will actually work using a kind of a hidden feature called Windows. Actually, it's called Credential Manager now. The old name is Windows Vault. I still think of it as Windows Vault, but it's kind of a power user tip. It's the type of thing that I think a lot of people wouldn't know how to fix off the top of their head. So I have a link in the show notes about how to make that happen. I have an article I published on the website, so you can check that out.
Excellent. But we're not done. No, you might think, hey, that's more tips than any one show could handle. No, my friend. Tip number 3.
So Microsoft is going on the road throughout the spring to various cities across the United States, and they're giving an all-day free class about how to program for Windows 8, program Metro-style apps. I actually got locked out of the one that's local, but I heard from the guys that are running the show. I'm going to be able to get in.
Locked out? They heard you were coming, and
No, it sold out. Like I couldn't. It was full.
Wow.
And I actually heard from those guys, so I'm going to go. So it's at the end of May near the Boston.
That's
near
great.
Boston in the Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a link to that in the show notes as well. But I have a post about it, so you can check out their website and find out what's close to you, and hopefully attend a class on developing Windows 8 Metro style apps.
Wow, that's interesting. It's sold out. That's actually a very good sign. Yeah. Well, I guess Boston's full of people.
This is good timing for me, too, because I'm writing this book. I really want to investigate this. I had spent a bunch of time looking at Windows Phone programming, which is awesome. It's very straightforward, very nice. Windows 8's a little different, so I'm curious about that. And it's not something I can focus on right now because I'm writing this book, but I want to turn my attention to that after the major part of the book writing's done. So this is, I think the Boston one is in late May 27th.
This does look fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be Reston, Chevy Chase, Orlando, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, Charlotte, Waltham, Atlanta, Farmington, Malvern, PA. Yeah, that's a good place. Columbus, Detroit, Minneapolis, Dallas, Chicago, Mountain View, Los Angeles, Irvine, and Redmond, and Denver. Boy, I'd love to go to that. That'd be fun. I mean, even just for fun. I guess I shouldn't take a space of somebody who's actually a real developer, but
just wearing like a party hat in the back and having a good time.
This is just fun. Woo!
Mr. Laporte, if I have to speak to you again.
Woo! C#. And finally,
excuse me, will there be any F# coverage today? Actually, I think that's what Mary Jo was doing this week.
I came for the app shop, but I stay for the Metro.
That's right.
Our tip of the week, number 4, and I promise the last tip of the week.
Microsoft will periodically make available books about new software releases for free in electronic version. I only found this one in the Kindle edition version, and I guess in some locales it's actually not quite free. It's 99 cents or $2.99 or something like that. But introducing Microsoft SQL Server 2012 is available on the Kindle right now for free, or at least it was the last time I checked. And like I said, they've done this. They did this for Windows Server 2008 when that release came out. This is not a pamphlet either. This is like a 200 and some odd page book. It's a legitimate Microsoft Press title. So if you use Kindle and want to read about Microsoft SQL Server, which just was released, this is a nice, inexpensive way to do so.
And who wouldn't?
Right.
I mean, after all.
So there's your little bit of enterprise right at the end.
Yeah, you see, that's good. You snuck that in. Nicely done.
But seriously, the sticker thing.
That's it.
Sitting on that all week.
That's what we're here for.
Well, because I'm not kidding. I get this request all the time.
No, it's funny that Microsoft doesn't do that since Apple really does this. I mean, it's a big deal. And you see Apple stickers everywhere.
Microsoft could include a sticker in every box of Windows, and I swear to God, their sales would go up 20%.
Why don't they do that?
I don't know. Because they don't get marketing, Leo.
They don't. Puzzling.
Because our business users wouldn't like the waste.
Yes. Decals, what are those? Paul Thurrott, what is an automobile anyway? Paul Thurrott is the editor-in-chief of the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com. He's also a news analyst for Penton Media. He is also, most importantly, news editor for Windows IT Pro. And even more importantly, he's the author of the Delphi 6 Super Bible.
Three.
I got it right there. See, I should have known. Delphi 3 Super Bible. And Windows Phone Secrets and soon to be Windows 8 Secrets. How far down the road are you on that?
So we're in kind of a sticky spot right now. I have a writing problem that is opposite of what most people have when you consider a writing problem, which is that I write too much. So at the point where we had turned in 33% of the book, I had completed 50% of the space that is allotted for the book. And one of the things we don't want to do with this version of the book is create yet another 1,000-page behemoth that will kill you if you fall asleep while you're reading it. We're trying to keep it below 650 pages maximum. And I'm already on track, that it's going to be a lot bigger than that. So we might have to – I might actually have to drop some stuff. It's kind of a weird problem. Like I write too much. I think that's the only way to say it. So 50% done. It's weird. So I'm going to do what I can do.
I write too much. Yeah. I write too much. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're very excited. As long as we're talking, Paul, I'd just like to make the announcement. The Butter and Eggs Day Parade is coming to town. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited. Well, and just so if you'd like to come out, Sunday, April 29th.
I just want to be clear about what I'm looking at because it says River of Dreams on it now. Is that a river of milk?
It's a milky river of dreams with some eggs on the side in case you want to make an omelet.
Well,
because butter and eggs are no longer the principal products of Petaluma.
Podcasts and radio shows.
Podcast and Wine Day was taken.
Does the feed bank in Petaluma actually function as a feed bank?
We have a number of. In fact, the next time you come out here, I'll take you on a tour of the feed mills, the silage. If you're into silage, there's no better place than Petaluma. And if you come, what's nice if you come in.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
In the spring and the fall, you really ought to come out for fertilizer days, where the entire town smells like cow poop for like a week. It is great.
Wow.
Yes, it's fertilizer days in Petaluma. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? No, that's life in an agrarian.
We had friends who used to live behind a slaughterhouse, so I kind of appreciate
the worst.
Yeah.
No, actually, the worse than a slaughterhouse, and I don't know if they did it there, is a rendering plant.
Yes.
That's probably the stinkiest thing I've ever smelled. Worse than a chicken farm.
Liquid. I would like some liquid that used to be an animal.
Worse than a paper mill.
Do you have such a thing?
Worse than a tire factory. It's the rendering plant. You don't want to be there. I worked at a radio station for one day that was hosted next door to a rendering plant. And I said, that's it. I'm never working there again. Bye.
Nice.
All right, my friend, Paul Thurrott, editor-in-chief, the SuperSite for Windows. It has been a slice. We will have Mary Jo back. I'm sorry to say next week.
Hopefully my coughing attacks will be done.
I'll just have to put on pants for the next one. Thank you, Paulie.
Sorry.
We do this show Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC on twit.tv. But, you don't have to watch live. It's nice if you do, because then, you get all the fun and mirth and merriment that we edit out later. But also, if you miss it, you can get the download, audio and video.
By the way,
available.
That's how my son talks all the time now.
Like that?
Yeah. Like, well, your damn voice just changed. Why don't you just be quiet until you talk?
Dad! What is he, 11, 12?
No, he's like 13.
Oh, yeah, 13's the big year. Yeah, for talking like this. Well, thank you, Paul.
You do not sound like a sissy.
My voice is changing. Every once I talk like this. And then all of a sudden, the beast from beyond appears.
Come back when you talk like Pantera.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.